is a lot of garbage. The picture that they said is of me eating a dog. It's actually me eating a goat in Patagonia on a whitewater trip many years ago on the Fuleifu River. They say there's they have an expert that has identified that as a dog carcass.
Yeah.
It's just not true. So, and in terms of the other allegations, I've said this from the beginning. I am not a church boy. I am not running like that. I said I had a very, very rambunctious youth. I said in my announcement speech that I have so many skeletons in my closet that if they could all vote, I could run for king of the world. Mm-hmm. So, this Vanity Fair is recycling 30-year-old stories, and I'm not, going to comment on the details of any of them, but I am who I am.
You're talking there about the nanny situation. I mean, I do have to ask, sir. I mean, are you denying it or not?
I'm not going to comment on it.
All right. Well, I gave you the opportunity, and officially, it's a goat. I didn't know necessarily about what did they say? It's a spare rib of a canine. I think that's what they said for their identification. But we've got it from you. I'll let the anatomy experts be the ones who can determine that.
So that's what he had to say about it. That's what's been said so far. He did post on X a response which reads, "Hey, at Vanity Fair, when your veterinary experts call a goat a dog, and your forensic experts say a photo taken in Patagonia was taken in Korea, that you've joined the ranks of supermarket tabloids." Well, as we've demonstrated here many times in the last couple of months, the tabloids are the ones getting it right these days. Well, yeah. Yes. Sorry to say. That's not a good defense in the current media environment. We're going to dig into this a little bit more on the other side of this. Well, before we get, yeah, okay, let's run. He's eating a dog. Okay, Joseph and Dragon are going to join me in a moment to talk about this. Blows me away. Plus, Dragon's going to also talk about an injunction that has been issued to the University of Toronto to clear a pro-Palestinian encampment there. And we'll talk about what impact that might have on other locations, including at McGill University in Montreal. So stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, come over here for a minute. I need to tell you something. Come here. Hey,
what's up?
RFK. Bad news, man. Bad news. He ate a dog.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he ate a dog, man. What are we gonna do?
Sounds like a conspiracy theory. Are you sure Bobby hasn't been sharing his crack with you?
Sorry.
Who
are you gonna vote for now?
Trump. This is an existential canine catastrophe. Gotta go with Trump.
Yeah.
Kennedy is pretty weird.
You think you know a guy, and then he turns around and eats a dog.
He will just deny it. Maybe it's fake news.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are mavericks, we are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
It's a good thing I had my canine mind reader and translator with me so that I could effectively communicate with Cosmo during that conversation. Let's bring in Dragon, and let's bring in Joseph from Detroit.
Oh, I'm in the bottom box again.
Okay, I couldn't resist. I had to bring you guys back tonight because of this RFK Jr. story, which is potentially horrific, kind of funny in a way, in a creepy way, dark humor. First of all, I'll just get your reaction from both of you. What are we dealing with here?
I think we're dealing with false presumes because, well, I've done my research and I've seen none of those picture of RFK in in South Korea or even North Korea. So basically, there's nothing about that. So, I mean, they have took a photo of him eating something that looked like probably a dog or something else, and put on, some false information inside that. So you know what? It's information.
Joseph?
Well, clearly RFK Jr. is lying. He could not have eaten the goat. Tom Brady is still with us.
Okay.
I can't resist. But no, I mean, seriously, and I know absolutely why I'm on here. That is, of course, to remind everybody there was no big kerfuffle when Obama admitted in his book to eating dog. Now, to be fair, it's not like Obama got together with his campaign team and his first run at president and they all gathered around and feasted on dog. That was way, way back in his past in Indonesia. So, but still, I mean, in the West, especially the US and Canada, our fur babies are part of the family. We would never consider tasting dog or cat. I don't think. I mean, most won't even eat rabbit because, as a child, they might have had a pet bunny around Easter time. So, but yeah, I mean, RFK Jr. is a rugged Teddy Roosevelt kind of man's man, hunter. Would he have eaten goat? Absolutely. Could he have even eaten dog? Way, way, way back then. Like you said, this is old photo, old stuff. Uh, I don't know. is it really that much of an issue? Don't we have bigger
Yeah.
uh,
No.
to keep
I
it
think it's
about
a yeah.
food?
I don't want a president who roasts and eats dogs.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's why obviously they're attacking them. But right now, I think we have to keep the food thing going. Bigger fish to fry, so to speak.
Well, let's put it this way. Um, Send me into a foreign country, right? Where there's people from, well, certain culture that would hate as a courtesy some dogs, for example, and it would be, say, um, not polite to refuse to eat with them. I'd be probably kind of coerced to do the thing, not to get the bad feeling from my hosts. But I mean, in a way, if that would be a thing for RFK or Obama or whoever it is,
Yeah.
um, if I would brought that to you, is that just to hurt the guy and make him fall kind of few votes into his campaign kind of thing?
Says
That's
here
an
that
inter-
it says that he sent the picture to someone. So he texted a photograph to a friend. In the photo, RFK Jr. was posing alongside an unidentified woman with the barbecued remains of what appears to be a dog. Kennedy told the person who was traveling to Asia that he might enjoy a restaurant in Korea that served dog on the menu, suggesting Kennedy had sampled a dog. The photo was taken in 2010, according to the digital files metadata. The same year, he was diagnosed with a dead tapeworm in his brain. A veterinarian who examined the photograph says the carcass is a canine, pointing to the 13 pairs of ribs, which include the telltale floating rib found in dogs. Now, I looked it up, and yes, indeed, dogs do have 13 ribs. Here's a super duper heavy duty, super scientific photo that I found online of a dog showing all the ribs. And here's a goat, which also has how many ribs? Any
13?
guess? 13.
34.
13. They both have
So,
13 ribs.
yeah, I mean, again, now this reeks to me of Democrat desperation trying to make sure after Biden's disaster debate that leftists don't flee to RFK Jr. They're certainly not going to go to Trump, but there is a risk some of them could go from Biden to RFK Jr. So I don't find this surprising. I believe him when he says it. But again, if you're a leftist, you had no problem with the fact that Obama ate dog. So I'm just coming at it from that perspective. How is
How
this
do you say that again?
somehow an issue?
Obao
Obama, OBA
Mao.
MAO, because he's like
Where do you come up with
Mao,
these
right?
things?
Mao, Chairman
Oh, well, why
Obama.
don't you call him Obow Wow?
No, I never say Obama. Wow, Obama.
But isn't a dog a bow wow?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess we
Yeah.
could call him that. But
Be even more appropriate. Bow Wow. Oh, Bow Wow ate a dog. Well, I
I
don't
think
know.
it's accurate.
It's throwing into question again his judgment, his moral compass. He's telling us that he has more skeletons in the enough skeletons in the closet to become king of the world if all those skeletons could vote. He's saying he's no angel. But is this a person then that is who, with a long history of previous drug abuse, suggestions of sexual assault now, which are being rekindled, questions about the way he's treated his wives and at times, and now eating a dog, among other things, not to mention some of his flip-flopping on issues. I won't even get into that right now, but what do you think? Like, is this a guy with a
Well,
strong enough moral compass to lead this most powerful nation on earth? You want to trust him with the nuclear codes?
Well, it is a dog eat dog world. Ba-dum-bum.
well, look, he does probably have what it takes to rules the United States in the right direction and do something about it. The thing is that if we look at everyone who has skeleton in their closet, well, I'm
Nobody.
sorry, guys, but we have a problem because you
We
know
do have
what?
a problem. I think
Everyone
they all have
has.
too many skeletons in the closet,
We,
all of them.
even myself. I mean, if somebody would just do the research and probably find something crusty against me and brought it. I mean, who's the world to judge that I'm probably ill-informed or do the thing wrong because I'm doing something right? Right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
agree with RFK Jr. in that, he was not a choir boy, right? Do we want a choir boy? Do we want somebody pristine who's
I,
maybe never made mistakes, never really lived any life? So, I mean, there is that angle, but another joke in here. Too bad RFK Jr. had already selected his running mate because they could run on a new party, the dog party, him and Christy Nome. I ate a dog, she shot the dog.
yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on tonight, because I know that you've been a big Kristi Noem fan. You were talking about how she would make a good running mate for Trump, and then she published that book, and there was
And
the
it got all twisted out of distortion.
she talked
It
about shooting her own dog because it was vicious.
Right. She put down a potential, well, not rabid in the sense where it had rabies, but it had a taste of blood and it was attacking. It had acquired a taste for blood. And in an animal of that type, it is usually only a matter of time before they will indeed start attacking humans. So, meanwhile, Biden's dogs are attacking humans left and right. Whereas
Mhm.
if that was your dog at your house and they bit 30 visitors to your house, it would never get to that point. That dog, your community would have insisted be put down. Now, of course, Christy Nome, being in the rural world, like, rugged RFK Jr., you know, they didn't take it to the vet and have it euthanized. She took it out back and shot it. Well, that upsets a lot of people, especially urban dwellers who have no concept of country life.
So the article goes on and says when Kennedy was married to his second wife, Mary Richardson, he was known to text other damning images to friends as well of nude women. Those friends assumed Kennedy himself had taken the pictures, but they didn't know whether the subjects had consented to having their genitalia photographed, let alone shared with other people. When one friend lost his phone, he panicked that somebody might discover the images. Theories about Kennedy's reckless behaviors abound. Long before it was reported, members of the family knew about the brain worm, which in court testimonies Kennedy conjectured he'd picked up from food he ate in South Asia. He said the tapeworm consumed a portion of his brain and led to protracted brain fog. But more often, his family points to Kennedy's 14 years as a heroin user, which began when Kennedy was 15 and didn't end until he was 29. Kennedy has made a history of addiction part of his campaign narrative, arguing that he is more equipped to fix America's addiction problem. Critics and his family feel otherwise. One Kennedy has circulated a report from the National Institutes of Health on the impact of long-term heroin abuse, which surmises that the damage can alter the physiology of the brain, creating long-term imbalances in neuronal
Nero.
and neuronal and hormonal systems that are not easily reversed and which may affect decision-making abilities, the ability to regulate behavior, and responses to stressful situations.
If someone that had a brain worm I think still far more qualified than the idiot currently there with absolutely no brain cells working at all whatsoever.
Even the man with the brain worm is better equipped than the man with no brain left at all.
Right. Right? What's
I'm
the
sorry, but I will agree with Joseph.
what's the saying? A one-eyed man in the land of the blind is king, right? So hey, he's got more functioning brain cells than Biden. But all of this is fun in a way to talk about. He's got no shot at the presidency. But again, I think a lot of people now are awake that these aren't deep fakes about Biden. This is him. He's clueless. He's classless. He's stumbling up the stairs, the falling over on the bikes. He didn't have the cold and the flu or the Wuhan hysteria disease. All these other times, like they're trying to play the Nixon debate thing, and Nixon had the flu when he debated Kennedy. Why he looks so bad? So they're trying to play. Well, he had a cold. The Nixon excuse. Now, they are fearful. People will, of course, never go from Fascocrats party to Trump, but they could go to RFK Jr. And if just a small percentage, if RFK Jr. managed to shave off actual Biden voters, unlike we talked about this before, Perot, he got Democrats and Republicans that were not going to vote in that election. He didn't take from Bush nor Clinton. He took people who would otherwise not have voted. And RFK Jr., I think, was in that category, but now they're worried he's a real danger to take votes from Biden and be worse than a pro was to H.W. Bush and actually affect this election like they still blame Nader for Gore. If he shaves 1% in battleground states away from Biden, Biden loses. Biden's likely to lose anyway, but Biden definitely loses if real votes other than people who were otherwise not going to vote Biden or Trump come hell or high water, they would just leave that blank. If he now pulls some votes from Biden, that is just another catastrophic problem on top of all their other problems. That's why I feel they're attacking him.
What do you think? What do you make of the timing on this? These kinds of articles are rarely, if ever, just organic. They're timed. They're part of a political strategy usually, where information is leaked to a media outlet, and then they're encouraged or maybe even paid to produce this kind of material. What do you think of that, Joseph? What's your analysis?
Again, from what I think you know where I'm going to go, the Biden debate, the debate catastrophe, they're still reeling from that and trying to escape that and want any distraction or deflection that can get people off of the Biden epic meltdown, his blank stares and off, not even into the camera, off away from the camera, like, oh, look, another ghost, another dead politician that I want to go shake their hand.
What do you think, Dragon? Was this
Sorry.
was the what,
Well, I think
he's having a
Joseph
Joe
has
Biden
just
moment.
made some
He's
sense.
drifting away. He's not paying any. Well, it's like, what's going on? Where am I? What do you think of the
No,
timing of
actually,
the article?
Joseph has made some point. Biden, cannot, take one sentence after another, and we have the debacle of the last debate. So yeah, we are sure of one thing, that one of them gonna win, but it's not gonna be Biden. And on the other case, you know what? I will say that RFK is well versed probably to take away the problem, or give a shot at the problem of the drug addiction and so on in the US, because he had once a problem, so he's probably well equipped to tackle that problem.
I see. Let's talk about this immunity decision from the Supreme Court yesterday. I'd like to get your thoughts on that too. I mean, I was offering up my opinion on it, which is contrary to what I've been hearing from the mainstream media generally. I say that the Supreme Court ruling is probably correct. What do you guys think? Do you think that a former president, should enjoy immunity for official acts, but not for unofficial acts?
I was just
Kind of hard.
go,
I wouldn't say no. Well, depends. I mean, you see, if you do something wrong, you should be, the law should apply to you as same as a citizen. So yeah,
Joseph?
that's my take.
I was just on the Kimberly Cloud show yesterday live in the afternoon discussing this, and I'm upset with both sides on this. Again, I'm voting for Trump. There's nothing changing my mind between now and November, but I don't put on the MAGA and start going, rah, 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 Trump is perfect. I'm not a cultist. You know, and both sides, Trump in the cultists are out there, complete exoneration and everything's rosy, and the left is, of course, off the deep end on their hyperbolic bull, trying to incite violence in the streets and paranoia that, oh my God, Trump will be assassinating people every other day of the week if he gets back in. Both sides, and I wrote on this at beforeitsnews.com. Yeah, the Supreme Court didn't grant Trump anything. They affirmed what we knew he had since the dawn of our nation. It's
I agree with
nothing
that.
new. Nothing new here.
Right.
And unfortunately, Chief Just Ass Roberts, as I call him, always were looking to moderate rulings, split the baby, and send it back to the lower courts, did that again. What is official versus unofficial? They didn't delve into it at all. They've sent it back to the courts, where now leftist activist judges will argue everything Trump did was an unofficial act, and the Trump crowd will try to argue everything he's ever done in life just because he thought about being president all the way back to 2000 was an official act. Can we spare the nuttiness and engage in principles, not personalities? The shoe on the other foot, right? This is not about Trump. This is about all presidents, past, present, and future. And unfortunately, it's kicked back to the courts. This doesn't end anything. The legal cases will now keep coming because SCOTUS really didn't definitively say anything.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. And
Well,
you're quite right. It
there's
isn't just
another
about
point,
Trump.
I
It's
think.
not just about Trump. It's about all presidents, all of them, and whether they have the ability to see. My position on this, you guys probably didn't watch last night, but my position is a president needs immunity when exercising the powers of the office, because a president has special responsibilities. In much the same way a police officer has the authority to hand out a speeding ticket, because of their position, they have certain duties and obligations, and also certain powers as a police officer to exercise as part of
Right.
their duty. But when they can't just go around as a private citizen. I can't go around handing out speeding tickets, and even they can't just go around handing out speeding tickets to people if it's not for an official reason, right? They can't just sit there and target their next door neighbor and hand out a speeding ticket for their own personal reasons. It has to be in an official capacity and exercised in a proper manner. So too with the president of the United States. But a president sometimes has to issue orders to the military where people end up dead. And they need to proceed with confidence and without fear. And they can only do that if they're certain that when they're exercising their responsibility as the commander in chief and as the president of the United States, that they're not going to be second guessed in the political sphere and in the court of public opinion. Well, I mean, you're always going to be second guessed in the court of public opinion, but politically not second guessed. And through the legal system, so that it's like, gee, if I issue this order and something doesn't work out right, or if the courts make a decision later because of a gray area here, I could end up in jail for the rest of my life. So screw it, I'm not going to do it, and that could put the nation at risk, right?
That's why
you need to be able to proceed from that position.
That's why official act immunity exists. And you're right. You can order something with proper intentions and it go to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
And then they second guess and try to charge you. But did you see Joe Biden yesterday? I will always respect the spirit of the limitations of the presidential office. Oh, really, Joe? How many Supreme Court rulings has smacked your ass down? The student debt, 3 different times they told you, you do not have authority to redistribute debt to others, to alleviate student debt, transfer those debts to others. But he keeps doing it. You don't respect anything, Joe.
Right.
I want him charged for that.
And there, even though this provides immunity for exercising the powers and responsibilities of the office, it still doesn't give a president, in my opinion, blanket immunity to do anything that he or she would want to do. You still can't do that because it can't be done for a personal reason. It can't be done, for a political reason necessarily, right? It has to be done in the interests of the nation. It has to be done in an official capacity, exercising your responsibility as the president, and in that capacity, acting on behalf of the people. And that's what the trick is. It's actually you're addressing the issue of national sovereignty because the president is really representing the people. And in that regard, he's saying that I'm acting, when the president acts in that capacity, he's acting as a representative of the nation state. And even in international courts, or according to international law, it would be recognized as such. And because it's a sovereign nation and he's acting in that capacity, you have immunity within your own country, right? So international courts might view it differently, but the United States doesn't belong to the ICC. They're not a member. And I mean, that's part of what this is about. Is the United States a sovereign nation state? And therefore, what powers does the president have?
Right. Well, a president cannot go down on the street walking and just shooting or killing someone
right
like this. It's that's just because he's just a business.
That's a clear unofficial act. Now, if there was an invasion force that lands on the Potomac and the president takes up an arm and joins with the army to repel them and kills people, that would be an official act. Again, you said it, and it's so apropos, Rick, that I had you on my show gray areas because that's the point. Now, what is official versus unofficial? President has a duty to ensure fair and free elections in the nation. So, was the January 6th stuff an official act in that regard, or was he separate and apart acting as a private citizen candidate for office at that time? Of course, both sides will, based on their own preferred narrative, pick from that. And that's where this whole gray area that could be argued for decades to come will come into play.
And that's because in a democracy, there is always an existential threat to the sitting governing party, the sitting government. But the reality is, you see, this is why people get confused, I think. The Democrats are not the government. The Democrats are the caretakers for the moment who are taking care of government, administering government. They're just in there right now. Biden's in there as a caretaker, but he's not the government, right? But any sitting governing entity or party as part of the government is always facing some sort of existential threat. Therefore, it's not adequate to say that like the president then could not just execute or have a political opponent assassinated in the United States, because that wouldn't be an official act of the presidency in the interests of the nation. It might be in the best interests of the party or even the president himself on a personal level in order to retain power. But that's not in the best interests of, or in the interests of the nation state, period. And therefore, that would not constitute an official act. But these are the things that need to be refined. These ideas, these definitions need to be refined further. What's official, what is unofficial, and that will more clearly define what provides immunity for any sitting president.
But that also alludes to the Chevron case now, which I always talk about, the Norton v. Shelby Township, Tennessee of the late 1800s, that the SCOTUS ruled, like the Chevron case, these alphabet agencies and departments are overreach from their congressional authority and or constitutionality to begin with. And the CINOs, rhinos, and fascocrats that comprise the deep state, not the uniparty, the deep state, the ruling elite establishment that is there no matter what party is in control of the White House. So we do have a leftist perma deep state governance, unfortunately. And the Chevron case allows us to now go at that. As Trump said, drain the swamp. We need to do that. I demand congressional hearings next Congress on each and every government agency for constitutionality and or government overreach. I think we talked about the EPA the other day, didn't we, Rick?
Yes,
right?
We did, yeah.
You do not have constitutional, for sure, let alone congressional authority from when the EPA was created under Nixon to regulate a pond in my backyard as an international body of water. Get off my bleeping land. You were created as a federal agency because Ohio can't control Indiana's air coming into their space, and Pennsylvania couldn't do anything about Ohio putting a bunch of garbage that then dumped a lot of bad air into Pennsylvania. That's why it was created. But of course, we've cleaned up our air and water to a not perfect. No such thing as perfect ever. But our air and our water is so much better than it was than just the 1970s, that now these bureaucrats, to protect their job, to self-justify their existence and their paycheck, go out of their way to find new crap that they claim they can regulate.
Okay, so I want to get, did you want to add anything to that, Dragon, before I bring up what's going on with this injunction at the
No, I
University
was
of
about to
Toronto?
say that the bureaucrat did actually put more murkyish water into the information pounds that we can find around, and just to make us basically blind of what's going on.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I didn't.
I like the way he made the play off the water there. That was good, Dragon. Yeah,
The water,
What?
the water
I
gained
caught it.
more
I caught it.
murkyish with the time because of the bureaucrat who has actually, you know, on, did put so many lie into
He's making a
the
metaphor. He's
information, right?
Okay, I'm not really following you, but let's move on to the
yeah,
to the
yeah.
um
You know,
to the University of Toronto injunction. So an Ontario judge has granted the University of Toronto an injunction, which allows it to clear out a pro-Palestinian encampment there. We've been seeing a lot of turmoil surrounding that encampment. It gives the protesters just over 24 hours now, less than that now, to remove their tents. And this decision, let me see here. This decision, this is a statement. I'm just reading it here from the university. It says this decision will restore King's College Circle for the use of all members of the University of Toronto community. We trust that those in the encampment will abide by the court order and vacate the encampment before the court-imposed deadline. Anyone who chooses to remain in the encampment after the deadline will be subject to consequences under university policy and the law. Police will be allowed to use force to clear the encampment after 6 p.m. on Wednesday if needed. Now, Dragon, you've been out at McGill University at the encampment there. You've been out to the one at UQAM. There's a third one now in Montreal at the, I keep calling it Victoria Park, but it's, what are they called there?
It's Square Victoria. Square.
Sorry?
The Square Victoria Park.
Can you lean a little closer to your mic because you're far away? You're not on mic.
Is that better? Okay. It's the
bit.
Square Victoria Park.
The Square Victoria Park.
Yep.
Okay,
it's just next to the Square Victoria Plaza, which is in downtown Montreal. So.
Okay.
Can hear you a lot better now. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, what do you think this will have any impact? Will it set the stage? What's going on in Toronto? Will it set the stage for the situation in Montreal now?
Well, I think so, because, I mean, it's been already 2 months now that we have the McGill encampment, and the second active encampment in Montreal, which is the Square Victoria one, has kind of, bended the rules at some point where they have done some vandalism on the premise. Some of the memorial has been desecrated around. So yeah, I mean, I would probably think that there's some grounding now with that one that might up some holding on the Quebec court, I hope. And the other thing is that something that you guys haven't noticed, but it was a few days ago. I don't remember which day, but it was a few days ago where our guys from Montreal went to Saint Bruno, okay, to block a certain train rail. So yeah, they have done a lot of things these last few days that I wasn't aware of, and yeah, it's
You saying
I don't
the
know what's gonna
protesters went to
happen.
block a railway line?
Yeah, railway in Saint Bruno, which is on the south shore on Montreal. So.
Oh, I
wasn't aware
love
of
that.
that.
I love that. Please sit on the tracks. A train ain't stopping for you. Please sit on the tracks. Try to block a train. I want to see splattered moron protesters all over the place.
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that, but this is what the scene has been this is On the Line Media at the University of Toronto a couple of hours ago.
Let them in! 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 What does let them in? Let them in! 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 Let them in!
I don't think they're going to let them in. I'm pretty sure they're not going to let them in.
Is that a bunch of protesters or a group of parrots? Let them in, Brock. Polly want a cracker.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to let them in.
And, oh my goodness, the law. They're threatening them with the law that they've been ignoring and not enforcing for how long now? All of a sudden, wow, you're actually going to get off your butts and enforce the law. That none of this would have gotten to this point had you enforced from the start.
So the question is, do you think the protesters will pack up and leave, or are we going to be seeing police go in there and push them out?
Well, in Toronto, I don't know, because I will say in Montreal, they are pretty much adamant with the fact that it will take as much as it can to take them out till the university divest their actions. But the thing is that, is it going to take police force? I just hope not, for the sake of those people that don't want to have their asses kicked, if I can put it this way. But
No, they
at the
do.
same
They
time,
want it. They want it. The leftist revolutionaries, it's like Hamas. They don't care how many Gazans die because then they spin it to morons that they're the victim. They want the confrontation so they can spin it, they're the victim.
and Rick will say it's martyrdom.
It is, yeah. That's their in their play manual. That's the way they do it. That's the blueprint. So,
and we can have soon in the August, we're going to have the gay parade, or the LGBTQ plus parade in Montreal. So I don't know what's going to happen right there, but if we have seen a few things coming on around on other countries or other places where the parade went on earlier this week, and I'm not sure how that is going to hold here. I mean, is it going to stay peaceful, or is there going to be any kind of disruption going on around? Because, I mean, if nothing's happened right now with the pro-Palestinian encampment right now till, I think it will be the 1st of August where there's going to be that parade, but I'm not sure, so don't hold my word on this one. But it's going to be around August, so if they are still around, is there going to be some disruption, or something going on around with that? I don't know, but I'll keep my eyes open for you guys. So stay tuned on this one.
I hope what happens is like we discussed the other day. The police will again ignore the public nudity and lewdness laws and just let them do whatever. But hopefully, let the left eat themselves. Let the leftist camps go at each other. I hope the pro Hamas terrorist idiot crowd invades the space of the LGBTQ plus pride crowd again and let them have at each other.
Okay, so to be fair and just to draw attention to a variety of protests across the political spectrum out in near Red Deer, Alberta, there is still an encampment on the side of a highway on Highway 2, which is a pro-freedom axe the tax protest thingy, but it's been set up in a rest stop. We talked about it when it was first set up. Well, yesterday during the Canada Day celebrations that took place there, because they've been, having like concerts and other things out there and bouncy castles for kids. I've been saying from the beginning, not safe, wouldn't recommend it. Don't recommend you take your kids there. Well, yesterday, guess what happened? There was a traffic accident on the highway right in front of the encampment protest. This is what it looked like yesterday during fireworks there. Again, I mean, people are trying to drive down the highway, right? And what are you doing? You're providing what essentially is a giant distraction. I mean, you can say what you want, but this is not an appropriate place to be conducting this kind of activity. It's not safe. And you can be the sovereign citizen that all you want and say that the rules don't apply, but sometimes rules are made for a reason, and that is to keep people safe. Now,
how about some common sense? Right? Some damn common sense and decency. Use your brain.
Protest all you want, but do it in an appropriate place in an appropriate way, and do it in a way that's not going to get anybody hurt. So here's an article in the Red Deer Advocate. Vehicles collide in front of Highway 2 rest stop on Canada Day. The driver was distracted by anti-carbon tax protesters, according to the RCMP. A driver involved in a Canada Day 3-vehicle collision on Highway 2 was apparently distracted by the protesters. RCMP spokesperson Corporal Troy Savinkoff said a group in 3 vehicles were traveling southbound to Calgary when 2 of the vehicles collided about 3:50 p.m. in front of the provincial rest stop just north of Lacombe. And I know that there was also this exchange between some of the parties out there and police pointed out to the protesters that there were children in those vehicles. Had this been, now apparently there were no serious injuries, fortunately, but it draws attention to the dangerous situation there. This is a highway where people are driving, 60 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour or faster, and people can easily be killed. So I'm just pointing this out. It might not seem like a big deal until it's a big deal. And fortunately, yesterday, nobody was killed. But this was the exchange between police and the parties involved there. And isn't it strange that what the cops were told by the protesters was, it's your fault for not telling us standing right next to a highway might be dangerous. Duh, they did. They did. I've been telling you that from the beginning. I've been on here saying, you shouldn't really be doing that there. It's not an intelligent place to do it. Vehicles and trucks traveling at high rates of speed, and it's not a safe place. Wouldn't take much for one car to come careening off the highway and slam right into the encampment and be a real problem, possibly cause injuries or death.
But you're just as liable. You're just as liable as the rest of us. Nobody was on the road. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree.
For not enforcing them to step back from the highway. They're as liable.
Just one person. They want to pass the buck because they're.
So now the cops, it's the cops' fault.
A typical leftist mentality. This is funny that you bring that up, because I just posted that yesterday. Leftists, they're Darwinists, evolutionarists. Well, you know what? part of Darwin is survival of the fittest. But what's their first complaint? You didn't protect me from myself. We need more Darwinism. We need less disclaimers, less warning labels. These morons need to off themselves.
And don't get me wrong, I want change in the country as much as anybody else. But when things aren't done properly, it actually undermines the cause, because now you're causing a problem and people don't like it, and you're not winning people over. You're alienating people. You're saying, look at this. They say, look at the problem these idiots are causing. These are not the people you want to be following. Okay, I'm just saying.
You're actually promoting more tyranny, because more people, you're pushing them away, and they're actually not going to side with you. They're going to side with the fascistic government to say, get them the heck off my street. Get them off my property. They'll give up their freedoms. You're out there fighting supposedly for their freedoms, and you're driving them into the arms of the fascists. These people have no brain capacity.
Sorry.
Can I open another questioning about the subject?
Yeah.
You got some people, well, some state in the US where they have given the permission to people to run down protesters on the street that is blocking, right? So do you want that to come right into your door? Because, for example, in Quebec, Montreal, or even in...
Did you just say it's legal to run protesters down in the streets?
There's one state, I think, that did pass that, or it's not a case.
I don't think that there's any state that says it's illegal to run people over just because they're in the street. I don't think so.
Someone may have somehow pleaded something in a court case where they hit a protester and wiggled their way out of it. Maybe that's what you're thinking of, Dragon.
As an accident, maybe, yeah. But maybe. I don't think protesters standing in the street are just then fair game to be run over.
There's a lot of joke memes all over social media about that. I mean, I'd love it. So I could go out and buy a nice high 4x4 and start running down people. That'd be great. I'd love to be able to do that.
No.
Dragon got caught by a meme. But the thing is that I don't want that to be seen on Montreal street or Quebec or wherever. I mean, it would be a sad thing to see that in Canada.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see protesters run over either. You know, I want people to stay safe. I'm protest all you want, but let's do it in a way that we're not putting people at risk and not undermining the cause by causing a problem. That's what I've been saying all along. Protest, but do it safely.
Yeah. Protesters on the right need to be more cerebral and intelligent and use common sense. Like I said, strategic, like Rick is saying. Don't be stupid like the leftist morons and disrupt everything of the average person, because indeed, as Rick said, you just alienate them. You do not bring them to your cause, you drive them away. Let the left morons keep doing that, and I hope they do keep doing that, because they keep losing ground because of it. Learn. Aren't we on the right supposedly the thinking people? But yet there are emotionally hysterical snowflakes on the right too, who can't learn, can't think. They just emote. It's because I feel this way, and that's all that matters. Think, people.
Yeah. Don't think with your emotion. Emotion make you do bad things sometimes.
Stupid things, yes.
Yeah, definitely gotta keep your head screwed on straight. Okay, guys, let's take a little break here.
Yeah.
And we'll
I
come
need
back.
my chiropractor now. My head's not on straight.
Okay, we'll be right back after this.
Who let the dogs out?
He is nuts and clearly disturbed. The Standard.
It's gonna do to me what you do to me. Hot diggity, dog diggity, boom, what you do.
He's angry at Vanity Fair. His own family hates him. The New York Post.
Kiss that away, bring me bliss that away, with a kiss that away.
He sounds like he's transmitting from another galaxy. He is so crazy. The New York Post.
Hot diggity, dog diggity, boom, what you do to me.
Kennedy is a humorless bully living in a paranoid fantasy. Vanity Fair. What the f*** is wrong with Bobby Kennedy?
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, let's bring these guys back in.
I was just laughing in the chat. Somebody's attacking you, which I'm sure
right.
you're not surprised, right? It's like, oh my God, I haven't tuned into Walker in months, and now he's, has he never seen a single person, or has he never himself walked along the side of? You're comparing. Can we compare apples to apples and not radishes? Is what I said. It's like you're talking about a few people maybe walking along the side of the road, potentially even hitchhiking, completely different to this. So that guy, that gal,
is that
whomever,
Peaceman? Is that who's? Is that who?
I don't know
Peaceman?
who. They are either disingenuous just to attack you, or they are stupid. They're not the same. They're not even close to comparable.
It's just whatever, man.
Yeah, you found it though. Yeah,
Is that the one? Yeah.
That was the one. Yeah, you're comparing apples to radishes. Yeah, I mean, disingenuous or stupid. One or the other.
Oh my God! You said
way.
something that I don't agree with, and I'm whatever. Okay, I'm leaving. Okay, go ahead.
Either disingenuous or stupid. Either way, they're not worth our time. I should probably have wasted our time bringing it up.
It doesn't matter. It's politics. There's always going to be disagreement, and but hey, if you think it's a good idea to play in the middle of the road.
Please
or at the side of the highway and take your kids down. Okay?
That's exactly what I was saying about Darwinism. Let these morons do stupid stuff we can be rid of them.
these last few days, I've been into few conversation toward probably X or Discord once in a while, and I do disagree with some people once in a while. But you know what's the funniest? I found some people that I did disagree with, and we had a beautiful conversation like the one we have right now. Even though we do agree more than anything else in most
Oh, I
of point, but
disagree, Dragon. I
sometimes,
disagree, Dragon.
we do disagree on some stuff, and people sometimes change their ideas according to what we can reveal. Sometimes I do change my own ideas. Sometimes I do agree with some stuff is going on, but at a point, there's other thing that I can disagree also to. So
I always say this: everybody is entitled to their opinion, right?
Yeah, I don't even know what he was referring to, honestly. He says, I
Yeah.
can't believe you said that. I don't know what he's making. I can't believe you
was-
said what and who.
It was about
So, whatever.
about the people along the side of the road, but everybody's
whatever.
entitled to their opinion. But it matters if your opinion is based on reality or unicorn fart fantasy delusion.
Halo says, Freeway Frogger blindfolded, more my pace. Right.
Now
Yeah,
maybe they want us to go back to the debate and the shit jokes again.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's keep the language clean, okay? Let's try and keep it on the professional side.
I'm not
As much
swearing.
as with that show went pretty sideways the other night, but what else are we going to do when that's exactly what some other media outlets have been really highlighting is Joe Biden
Number
and
two
his
jokes.
depends.
Number
Yeah.
two jokes, yeah.
Right.
Cleaner.
Yeah. Anyway, oh boy. Few other
Yeah, I
things here to-
got us off the rails again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why I brought you here, though, Joseph, because I wanted someone to get us off the rails to keep things interesting. Russia saying that they have destroyed. They claim they've destroyed 5 Ukrainian jets. Here, I have video. Let me show you. It's not terribly dramatic video. It's aerial footage. I'll show you. I guess they left these things parked in right out in the open where they were vulnerable.
Duh.
Yeah. Should not do that.
Can anybody
missile
say
attack? Missile
anybody say
attack.
Pearl Harbor? Right? I mean, do you not learn?
Destroyed 5 warplanes at Ukrainian airbase primed to receive F-16 fighter jets. The Kremlin claims they took out 5 Su-27 fighters and damaged 2 more.
Well, I don't see any planes out in the open there.
No,
unless this is just a bad view. Is that the planes there somehow? That
are those
don't look
puffs of smoke there? Is that what took them out? I guess that's what it is, yeah. So
what was the plane?
Su-27s.
27s?
Yeah, Russian jets, because of course Ukraine has
Yeah,
a lot of
Sukhoi.
Russian weapons from the past, right?
Yeah, those are Sukhois.
Yep.
I love those jets.
Yeah,
Based
gotta
on
get me a fighter
MiG-29.
jet. We all need fighter jets. That's what we need. Yes.
Actually, I had a few people who had asked me the question, what is the jet that you show on your promo? I think it's an F-22.
I asked you that the other day. Yeah. Is it an F-22 or an F-35 Raptor?
Well, that'll be a question. We'll leave that open for interpretation. Maybe we'll have a contest and see who comes up with the right answer. I'll have to formulate the rules for that. But yeah, you can buy surplus military airplanes, I guess, on the open market if they're sort of de-weaponized, right? So yeah, maybe we should look into that. Maybe we need a Maverick jet. That's what we need, a Maverick jet. No weapons.
Well, in the US, you can buy a tank.
You can. You can buy tanks. Yes, you can. In fact, I know a
So,
guy who bought one. I know a guy who bought a tank and then had trouble finding a place to store it so that he wasn't violating any bylaws. He doesn't live too far from here. It ended up in a town about a half an hour from here where they put it on display. So, yeah. Now, out in Calgary, we know we had that big water main break, and it took out about 40%, I believe, of the municipal water supply, made international headlines. The city has been struggling to get the water system back online. Today, the mayor of Calgary, Jyoti Gondek, announcing that they are now ready to resume indoor water usage at a regular scale. Outdoor water usage still being restricted.
To deliver, and I know it was difficult news to hear. I vowed to take any action needed to aggressively speed up the timeline, and I'm relieved to say that today we can deliver some much needed good news. I'm incredibly pleased to share that indoor water use can now return to normal. And we look forward to slowly restoring outdoor water use as we continue to monitor the system's stabilization process. A quick overview of what changed since yesterday to allow us to return to regular indoor water usage today. First, we had 3 crews working all day yesterday to flush water through hydrants to reduce turbidity in the system. That's to reduce the cloudiness that some of you saw in your water. Turbidity levels are coming down and they're trending in the right direction. Next, with production safely increasing at the Bears Paw Water Treatment Plant, we're able to perform some critical maintenance that's needed at the Glenmore Water Treatment Plant. And lastly, the Bears Paw feeder main has now been brought up to 50% capacity, and we continue to stabilize the system by listening for irregularities and measuring pressure changes. Calgary, I am in absolute awe of the work that all of you did for the last 26 days. For almost an entire month, you have gone above and beyond. You have gone above and beyond. A little excited today, to keep our water usage low, and you ensured that we had safe drinking water during this crisis, and that our firefighters, doctors, and nurses were never without the water they needed to do their jobs. And I cannot thank you enough for every action that you have taken.
26 days it took them to get up to this point, still not fully restored. Aging infrastructure being cited as one of the reasons behind this, improper maintenance, I would say incompetence on behalf of the municipal government and the bureaucrats. That would be my take on it, if we're not maintaining the system properly to begin with. Just a brief comment from you guys.
Well,
Anyone?
I mean, it's weird because you guys say that you are not regularizing normally water, but in Montreal we got some bylaws to regulate some the water usage at a certain hours by day. But thing is that infrastructure is aging. We have a lot of incompetency, I think, in every part of the globe, especially in Canada, because in my part of the town, I will tell you, there's a lot of mains who's breaking once in a while, mostly in wintertime when everything's frozen and such. So, we need probably more people that will look into our infrastructure and do something about it because, it's not looking
well,
good.
everywhere this kind of infrastructure is aging.
Same thing here in the U.S. Complaints always, and yet we never get a real infrastructure bill to do anything about it. Now, of course, the Biden administration had a money laundering bill that they called infrastructure that was really only about what? Sending money to their family, their friends, their donors, those useful to them. It was just money laundering under the title of infrastructure, most of it to what? The solar farms that will be started up, and then 3 years later will go bankrupt. But meanwhile, their family, their friends, their donors all will have pocketed millions or billions off of it. Yeah, we need real infrastructure. Now, right, I'm in Detroit. People, I think, in Canada understand about Flint, Michigan, and the water fiasco there. And of course, Democrats want to use
Lead
it
in
to
the
beat
water,
up. Yeah, beat up on Republicans, and Republicans want to, in my opinion, rightly blame the Flint Council that authorized the change of water over from one place to another. That wasn't the problem. It went to what you said, Rick, incompetence. The morons at the Flint plant didn't put the inexpensive additive in the water to keep the lead that everybody knows is out there in these aging pipes from leaching into the water. That's where the problem was, not the switching of the water supplies. And of course, the politicians went at each other, and the actual inept, incompetent buffoons that failed the city are still working there, still have their jobs. They are the ones that failed and caused countless people to be poisoned. But that's not, you know, it's more fun to attack each other politically over it than actually look at what the real problem was and who was really guilty of it.
So tomorrow, Joe Biden is supposed to hold a video conference call with Democratic governors. This all related to his disastrous debate performance and growing concerns about his ability to serve out a second term. So they're still, I guess, working out how the call is going to go down, but pretty clear that he's still under a lot of pressure. Do you think he can survive, guys, and really go through with this next election?
They're sure as heck going to try to keep propping him up. That's what this whole thing is about. Wretched Whitler was just on the other day. Oh, no, I'm not looking to replace him. Oh, sure you are, you hungry, power hungry B word. You know, she's got a book coming out next month, I think. Right. That's just coincidental. You aren't positioning yourself for the election. But indeed, I mean, they're circling the wagons and looking for some strategy, which again call back to the RFK thing. Oh, you mentioned red deer. How many ribs does a red deer have? But anyway, maybe he was eating a red deer. But it'll be a deflection strategy, a Saul Alinsky strategy meeting, or as I wrote on thelibertybeacon.com, the leftist 7 Ds. What can they use as a dodge, as a deflection, as a distraction, as a distortion? Because the denials aren't working. That wasn't all 7 of the Ds, but the 7 Ds, they're all about Saul Alinsky strategy. And
what do you think, Dragon? What's your opinion? Is
My
Biden able to
opinion.
survive this or not?
Well, I don't think so. Biden is pretty much, well, there's two things. Even if his party wins, well, they will find a replacement anyway. So, I mean, he's not surviving.
Okay, so this is, yeah, I mean, we're rehashing the old. So, not sorry to cut you off, but we're running out of time here tonight. Viktor Orban went to visit Zelensky and released this video today, and I'll get you to comment on this. Hungary holds the presidency of the European Union, rotating presidency of the European Council for 6 months. My first trip led me here because the issue of peace is important not only for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe. The war that you are currently suffering is deeply affecting the security of Europe. We appreciate the initiatives President Zelensky has taken for peace. I share my views with the President. These initiatives take a long time. They're slow and complicated because of the rules of international diplomacy. I asked the President
fontoljuk meg,
consider whether it
nem lehetne
would be possible to
a
reverse
sorrendet
the order
megfordítani, és egy gyors
and speed up the peace
tűzszünettel
negotiations
fölgyorsítani a
with a quick
béketárgyalásokat.
ceasefire,
Egy határidőhöz
a
kötött
deadline-bound
tűzszünet,
ceasefire,
amely
gives an
lehetőséget ad a
opportunity to speed up peace
béketárgyalások
negotiations.
felgyorsítására. Ennek a
I assess the
lehetőségeit
possibilities of
mértem
this.
föl, ezt tisztáztam
I
az elnök
clarified
úrral,
this with
ezek a
the president. I
tárgyalásokról
will, of course,
természetesen a
create a report on
Európai
these
Unió tanácsának,
negotiations
vagyis a
to the
miniszterelnököknek
Council of the European
majd egy
Union,
jelentést fogok
that is,
készíteni,
to the prime
ami
ministers,
alapján
so that the necessary European
megszülethetnek a
decisions can be
szükséges
made.
európai döntések.
Okay,
Well,
so
it's not peace negotiations, it's surrender negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to give up 20% of your country to let the rest of us have peace?
yeah, what do you think, Dragon?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, he's pretty much looking at, asking Zelensky just to give up what he needs, and in order to give up peace, So, yeah. But what's going to happen after that? That's another question.
Yeah,
Yeah. People never learned from Neville Chamberlain. The lesson between Churchill and Chamberlain. Every time you appease a tyrant, every time you let the tyrant win, they will come for more. They know you are weak. They know you will knuckle under. They know you will cave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just to kind of get into the coming out of turn 4 and straight down the straightaway toward the checkered flag. Predictions for tomorrow: University of Toronto encampment. Will the protesters leave, or are we going to see a clash between police and the campers, the pro-Palestinian campers? What's going to happen?
I think odds are 90% of a clash. As to Biden, like I said on the Kimberly Cloud show yesterday, I give Biden a 60-40 chance because his hubris will not let him step aside. He's going to try to hang in there. And Jill is telling him, oh, everything's great. Everything's fine. Jill don't want to give up on it either. So I give him 60% chance he's hanging in there. They won't be able to remove him because the only other thing is 25th Amendment, and they don't want cackling Kamala either.
Johnny's in the chat here. Sorry, go ahead, Dragon, and then I'm just gonna make one comment.
Is there going to be a clash? I fear that there will be, for the only fact that those people are kind of, I don't like to say the word fanatic, but they sound pretty much, looking towards some problems or something to happen. So I will
They
hope not,
want it.
but they do like to have some clashes. I mean, just look at what happened in Montreal. I mean, even if we don't probably are looking forward what's going on with Rebel News or other medias, they get pretty much heated when something's going on. And even myself, I went there. You remember on the 6th, they called me Rebel News as soon as they saw me, or called me Zionist and such. So they were, I would call that angry. So they are an angry mob, and angry mob, you know what they do, right? It never ends well. So I would probably think that there will be some clash tomorrow in Toronto.
And I just see that Johnny, in the Rumble chat saying, not lead, it is industrial fluoride in the water. And John, no, you're not accurate. You don't know what the situation is in Flint at all, obviously. It's lead in the water in Flint. It's a major issue. It is in some other communities as well, but in particular in Flint. And Joseph, please set the record straight for Johnny.
Yeah.
Because it's a major issue, has been for a long time in the community of Flint, Michigan. Can you please explain?
Yeah. I'm only 30 minutes from Flint and being involved in politics. The governor was Republican at that time. The Flint Council were Democrats. They wanted to switch the water supply because they were under not executive order, but executive authority. They had someone come in under Michigan law to be executor, take over for the mayor and the council, but the council still had, which was a Democrat, and the Democrat council had to sign off on the switching of the water. That was not the issue. That didn't cause it. It is when they stopped putting the proper chemical in that helps prevent the lead in the old infrastructure from leaching out of the pipes into the water. It's been a known issue for 100 years, and the chemicals are there and available. And yes, that has nothing to do with fluoride or not in water. Zero.
It's because the pipes were laid, like as you said, like
Yeah.
well over a century ago in some
It's the
places,
pipe
and they
problem
were
that
using
was
lead
leading
pipes.
lead.
Pipes, which can leach lead into the water and cause all kinds of health problems, including learning disabilities for children who get, because once lead is in your system, it never comes out. It's a heavy metal. And once it's ingested, you can't get it out of your body. There's just no way. And it causes all kinds of health problems.
And I'm actually in Wyandotte. We have our own water and power company here.
Yeah.
Our pipes are probably not that much less aged than the Flint pipes, but our crew knows to put the proper chemicals in to prevent that lead from leaching from the lead pipes into the water. There is a countermeasure, and they failed to use it. That caused all these deaths and billions in cost.
And there's also lead solder, which they've stopped using. If you can still buy it, but they don't use it to build new houses now. When they're putting in the copper pipes, they don't use lead solder. They use tin-based solders. It's different. Lead paint, no more lead paint. Yeah, things like that. So they've taken lead out of many products, including solders and pipes and these things that have been causing health problems for a very long time. So Johnny, just because he's in the chat and he's telling people these things, and it is just not accurate, and I just want people to have accurate information, and that's all. So there you go.
I'm in what was my grandfather's house. He worked at the Ford Rouge bomber plant, so as an essential worker, so he didn't have to go to the war or whatever. And so therefore he was able to get an exemption from all the rationing to have this house built during the war. So I have no doubt that there's lead paint underneath the layers of the other paint that are on these walls.
Sure. So guys, I'm just going to throw it over to you, Joseph, to get people to give us the thumbs up. I'd like to get a bunch of thumbs up on the YouTube channels and over on Rumble. That would be really helpful. So I'll let you put that plug in. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we want a thumbs up on Rumble. We don't want you to put your thumb up and put it in your mouth and suck on it. We need you to give us the thumbs up on the Rumble.
It helps push us up in the search engine rankings, and you can donate to support the channel to help us cover the bills here by donating at maverickdonations.com. Or Dragon, where else can they donate? It's on the screen there.
They can donate at freedomreporter.com.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I'm going to change my name to Bill because I want to be covered too.
Okay.
I can be one of the bills that get covered.
But yes, but the thumbs up costs you nothing. And that would really help us out a great deal as well. And guys, just to truly wrap things up, please tell people how they can find your work on your channels tonight.
Well, yeah, like, share, subscribe, right? Like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. And of course, you can see josephmleonard.us. It looks French. It's not Leonard. It's Leonard without an O, josephmleonard.us.
Okay, and Dragon, how can they find you?
You guys doesn't know, but my family name is Leonard with a ho, but will just call me Rising Dragon. So it's the One Rising Dragon at onerisingdragon.com on the Facebook, or also on the Twitters and YouTube. So you can find me anywhere you like. Have fun, guys, and open your minds.
And tomorrow is another day. We will see you back here. I have a special interview lined up tomorrow night. I won't tell you who it is, but it'll be an important interview. 90% sure it's going to come together.
Yeah,
never 100% sure.
Yeah,
I wish you luck on this one, though.
Dragon, you said open your minds. Now I got that stupid free your mind and the rest will follow song in my head. Okay. Thank you, no thank you, Dragon.
And thank you, Maverick family, for spending the time here tonight. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.